Welcome back to the BTS Happy Hour podcast. I'm your host, Andrea. With me, as always, is Morgan.
Hey, what's up?
So this week, there's a video of BTS from their dance practice doing Boy With Love, and someone had put the video to the music of a Bollywood song from the 90s called Chunari Chunari, and it sounded like this got really popular in India and went viral, which is really interesting.
What's viral? I'll trust it. It went viral. Lots of people looked at it.
Yeah, it's hard to say because when I
looked at it.
When I went to YouTube, there was I don't know what the original source of it was, but there was a lot of different copies.
It was a dance practice.
Yeah.
And then just overlaid a different song, like a Bollywood song?
Yeah. So apparently this song was really popular in the 90s, probably from a movie.
Early 90s or late 90s? I guess it doesn't make a difference.
If it's from the 90s, it's probably beloved by now. You know, it's like how...
As it should be, right?
How
I mean, if people are still thinking about it.
Yes.
It's definitely...
1999 is what it says.
Okay, it's definitely beloved. Same year as The Matrix came out. My favorite film, Matrix.
Yep.
That's an aside, but whatever. I'm just saying, stuff from the 90s, great.
We had Matrix, and they had the movie that was from.
No, I'm not going to compare it to Matrix, because maybe it's not quite as good, but okay. So basically, they overlaid it. I saw it. I saw the viral video.
Yeah.
What did you think about it?
There's a lot of tweets. It
right.
definitely did go with the song. I'm sure somebody figured out, if it has the same beats per minute, you can put this song with it.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's figured that out, pretty much.
And I think that's good. Anywhere where BTS goes viral and is popular in another country, that's always a good thing.
Right. So basically, I saw this, and at first, I thought they were doing a Bollywood dance. I thought, oh, that's so awesome. They're branching out and doing only after several views did I realize, okay, no, they're not. They just overlaid the music, right? But that just shows you the dance sort of, it fits so well, right? It really meshes well with that Bollywood aesthetic. And then now I'm thinking they've got to do a straight up Bollywood. They've got to do a straight up Bollywood dance. That's what I want.
They could do it.
That's what I want.
I
want them to do a real Bollywood dance. And I think that would be awesome.
I'm surprised that K-pop goes so easily with
Well, like you said, it's
Bollywood.
Just like if it fits the beat.
Yeah, if it's beats per minute.
Yeah. It probably will.
That's all it takes.
There's not any big mystery about that. Yeah, that's not a big mystery. I'm sure they find a lot of other dances that sort of fit as well. That's not the amazing thing to me. The amazing thing to me is just the motions and the moves. It just reminds me of some of the Bollywood films I've seen. And full disclosure, I have seen Bollywood films, and I love Bollywood films. We have seen Bollywood films together. Now, I don't necessarily off the top of my head remember all the names of these Bollywood films. I apologize. But, number one, the reason why I like Bollywood films, okay? Number one is because they're so unapologetically themselves. They're big, bold musicals, and in American cinema, there's really no such thing as a big, bold musical anymore. The last musical I saw that was excellent was La La Land. And I wouldn't even say that was a big, bold musical. It was pretty restrained.
It just kind of went back to the formula.
Yeah, I think because American audiences, they couldn't deal with, this is just a musical. It was a film first. There was a lot of parts of that film. That film could have worked if it was just a film.
Yeah.
It didn't have to be a musical. Okay?
It bothers me that American film has gone away from the musical. It used to be such a big thing.
It used to be such a big thing. We're talking about the 50s, the 60s, way back when, to Fred Astaire. But that's not a big thing now. And I love that Bollywood has never gone away from that. And I love watching those films. Now, I do have some trouble watching some of them because they're 3-4 hours long. My attention span cannot handle that. I remember I think we were watching one of these films. There was a film where it was about a girl who her family wanted her to marry somebody, and she found somebody else and is I'm really in love with this other dashing gentleman from whatever, for whatever reason. And we thought, okay, I get it. I know where this is going, right?
Right.
Because we have been trained so long from watching so many American films. Okay, there's gonna be struggle, but you're gonna end up with the guy you fell in love with.
Because Americans, you got to follow your heart. You have to
follow your heart. You follow your individuality. You follow.
Yes.
You just go where your heart leads you, And then at the end of the film, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of this film or anybody who was in it. It was probably made in like 2007 or something. Somebody mentioned to us, if you know, but just based on this description. So basically, some guy captures her heart, and at the end of the film, it looks like she's going to run away with him, but she's like running across a bridge or something, and her dad shows up, and he says, "Daughter, think about what you're doing." And at the last second, she says, "You're right. I should follow what the family says." And then she walks back to her father, and then like this crescendo of happy music played. And then as Americans, we were super confused because we thought, okay, she's going to go to the guy she fell in love with or whatever, and then the happy music was going to play, and they're going to run away.
They're going to run
off
whatever. Together.
That is the right thing to happen.
That's the ending.
That'll be the end. And God, that movie was like 3.5 hours long, so we were prepared for it. But she went back to her dad and said, "You're right, father. I will marry the guy that you arranged for me, and that is the correct ending." And what confused us was the happy music started playing. It wasn't like some awkward, ominous music.
It wasn't like meant like a twist.
No, it wasn't a twist. It was the correct outcome.
Yes.
And then we really struggled with that. And we said, what did we just watch? Right?
Like,
and then after a little
confused.
bit of discussion, we realized, wait, this is a cultural difference. In the culture that this film was created in, at the time at least, I don't know if that's still the case in India 2020, but at the time, this was about 2007, the correct outcome was for the daughter to follow what the father wanted, which was to marry the whatever arranged marriage. Now in America, we would think, no, that's terrible. Don't follow your heart. That's the wrong thing to do. Like, yeah, but that's your cultural bias. That's your cultural point of view. But for the people who made this film, and I'm going to assume a large percentage of the people who watch this film, that is not the right point of view. Their right point of view was for her to finally admit that her father was right and to go marry, the whatever arranged marriage. And I'm still not going to comment whether that's right or wrong, but it's very interesting because that's what was presented as the correct
Yeah, we just had
outcome.
Such an expectation of
we had
what
such
was
an
going to
expectation,
happen.
which was so informed by our cultural upbringing, which was in the West, in the United States, and we thought there's no way that the right outcome could be just listen to dad. So that was a real eye-opener. My point of view as to what's quote-unquote correct is not necessarily correct. This is a different cultural view, and we're watching a Bollywood film.
Yeah.
So, of course, perhaps they would have a different perspective on that particular question. And that was one of the most surprising things that I've ever encountered watching cinema. And I've watched many films. I've been a film buff, so I've watched more than 4,000 films. It was more surprising to me than The Sixth Sense, okay? For those of you who have watched Sixth Sense, was that surprising to you? It wasn't that surprising to me, but it was still a big shocker, right? For most people. This was a bigger shocker to me. Cultural difference, right?
We can appreciate it.
That's awesome. I really appreciated the fact that, see, here's the thing. When you just watch American cinema, it just force feeds you a cultural point of view that is strictly American. Now, do I necessarily agree with that? Do I think that, oh yeah, you should just marry whatever arrangement? Maybe not necessarily, but I do appreciate that I saw a work of art that had that point of view, as opposed to just showing me the same old point of view that I'm used to.
Yeah, we've seen like 100 times.
Yeah, like, well, you're an American, so you think that, of course, everybody should just pursue their individual love and wants and whatever. Well, let's just put it this way. You are a 21-year-old woman. Do you think that maybe your family knows a little bit more about the way the world works than you? Maybe they have wisdom that you don't have access to, right? I'm still not saying that I agree that, oh yeah, you should just listen to your dad every single time. No, I probably don't think that. Because if I had to just A, listen to my parents, or just B, do whatever the hell I want, I'd still probably fall on the side of B, do whatever the hell I want, right? But it is very instructive and very refreshing to see other points of view, right? Don't just like look at your own, trapped in your own culture's point of view and just say, yeah, that's the right thing. No, it was not a serious film or anything. It was still a sort of lighthearted Bollywood film, right? It had a lot of singing and dancing, but the end just came as a shock to us, at least. Probably wasn't that much of a shock to Indian audiences that watched it. Should she not run off with this man she met and fell in love with over the course of like 5 days. But when you voice it out, it does sound, oh, maybe this isn't such a good idea, right? It's, you know, you can see sort of the other perspectives from it. So, but that's not the reason why I like Bollywood. The main reason is that Bollywood is so still unapologetically entertainment oriented. Whereas there are very few American films that will just say, hey, you know what? You know what people like to see? They like to see attractive people. They like to see singing. They like to see dancing. They like to see... No, we don't have movies like that anymore.
No.
We really just have films that are super serious that want to win Oscars, or remakes of things
Comic
that they
book
know
movies.
are popular, right? Or comic book movies that they think will make $1 billion.
Yeah.
Those are really the only movies that America makes anymore. This is a discussion. We won't get into my beef with American filmmaking. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, I love Bollywood films. When you watch films made by other cultures, you maybe are confronted with the fact that other people have different cultural values.
Well,
I
and
think that's
also
good.
like when you watch foreign films, a lot of times it'll be like, oh, it's something French or something UK or, you know, Brazil. And it's like, well, those are still kind of on the side of like people doing whatever they want, and
Yeah.
people like maybe like a big age gap in a
Right.
relationship, stuff
Especially
like that.
French and UK, it's still Western values that are being...
So it's still, you're
Right.
used to seeing a similar kind of mindset.
Right. But circling back to BTS doing Bollywood dances, I really want to see them do Bollywood dances.
Well, remember Idol had incorporated some elements of that in the dance and
Idol?
the
Really?
sound. Yeah, don't remember?
No, refresh my memory. Really?
Watch the video. It's very Indian, I thought.
Oh, okay. I believe you.
Some of the moves and then
Oh.
some of the
Okay.
parts
Maybe
of the
some of
song.
the listeners can tell us whether they agree with that or not. I
I
I
wonder-
don't remember that myself, but I believe you.
I wonder if Idol was really big in India.
I don't know.
It probably was. They liked Idol, I would think.
But yeah, in case you didn't know, I don't know, I'm not going to speak for you, but I love Bollywood films. I also love, oh, you know what? I have a friend who's Indian, right? And trust me, this tangent makes sense. Okay. I told him, whenever you get married, you need to invite me to the wedding. You need to invite me. You know who I'm talking about, right? You
Yeah.
need to invite me
Yeah.
to the wedding. I'm going to show up at that wedding, not with a regular suit. I'm going to wear a Jodhpuri suit, a traditional, you know what Indians generally wear at Indian weddings. I'm going to learn all the dances that you guys do. And that probably was culturally insensitive, because probably like they don't do any specific dances. It's not like an Indian wedding is not necessarily like a Bollywood film or anything, but I would like it to be. That's my point. Right? For my own purposes, I would like it to be. I'm going to buy a Jodhpuri suit. You know, the suit that has like the Nehru collar and it's a little bit long, if you can picture it. I'm going to buy one of those. Even if I just have to, if I can only wear it once, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to wear it to that wedding. That's on my bucket list. And he's one of my only Indian friends, so he better get married. And then I also asked him, I said, so what if you marry a girl who's not Indian? Because this guy, he's kind of Americanized, so there's no guarantee he's going to marry an Indian girl. And I said, well, what if you marry an American girl or something, a white girl? And he said, well, maybe we won't have a traditional Indian wedding then. And I said, no, unacceptable. You need to marry an Indian girl.
You need to stay true to your
You need to stay true.
Indian culture.
Like, I didn't tell him that the reason was that I personally have an interest in wearing that outfit and doing I wouldn't even call them traditional, just like the dances. But the point is, I didn't tell him that. I just said, no, you need to stay true. You need to stay true, right? I just gave him some ethnocentric arguments for that. But the real reason is that I want to wear that traditional Indian garb and I want to do the dances. I would be good at them. Trust me. I will work hard. I won't embarrass.
You don't want to bring shame to
I won't bring shame. No,
Americans.
I will work hard. I will work hard, and I will represent well. I really hope that he gets married soon.
I bet you at the Indian weddings, they probably play the popular songs. Probably like this song,
Yeah.
this 1999
I know most
song.
of the dances.
This
you know,
Chinari
point,
Chinari.
Yeah, the pointing and
probably
then the
play
whatever.
it.
Like, I want to do those things because I've seen them in movies. I think they're awesome. Let's put it this way. In American art, in American film, nothing is, how do I say this? Nothing exists for the pure joy of it anymore. There are very few things. in a film, if you do it, we're deconstructing X, right? We're hearkening back to Y. There's very few things where they just say, well, we're doing it because it's fun and it looks fun and it's cool and that's it. It's a musical. I mean, when you look at the best musicals from the 40s and the 50s, etc., were they about anything? They were about music.
I couldn't really tell you the plot of the average musical back in the day.
The average Fred Astaire film, there's no plot. There's barely any plot. It's just beautiful dancing and lighthearted plotting.
It's like somewhat of a rom-com.
Yeah, it's like some romance.
We don't know.
Yeah, and great music. And it's not that complicated. It's just pleasant and fun. And there is nothing like that in American culture now. Nothing in American culture, even one of my favorite films from the past 10 years, which comes closest to fulfilling this sort of thing, which is La La Land. Even that is about bigger things. La La Land, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it has great music, has great dance, but it is also about bigger ideas, about how capable people are connecting in sort of a very superficial environment that is modern Los Angeles, right? Like whether people can form these relationships, and be successful, or can they not? These are bigger ideas, right? There were no big ideas in a lot of the musicals before. They were just fun. Now, La La Land manages to be both of those things, but there's no film that doesn't have to touch on anything. There's no film that's just, oh yeah, we're fun. See, that's what I love about Bollywood. It doesn't have to do any of those things. It just has to be fun and pleasant and entertaining. You can't make an American film without it being about something, right?
Yeah, even the musicals they have, they're kind of like too serious. Like, what was that movie that had Hugh Jackman that was a musical? What was the circus one?
The circus one.
The Greatest Showman?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, that movie was fine, but it wasn't fun. It had a lot of music and a lot of dancing, but it wasn't
but it had
fun.
To tackle big themes and such, right? It couldn't just be, hey, everybody wants to sing and dance in a movie.
It didn't have the lightheartedness
right.
of the old
People had to die at the end of it. How many people die in a 1950s musical? Just ask yourself
like
that.
Nobody.
Nobody dies. You know why? Because it's unpleasant. Sing the best songs, write great music, and we'll watch it. I just want a fun time at the movies with great music and great dancing. And you know what? Bollywood is still supplying that to this day.
They still deliver.
They still deliver that. Yeah. Well, so anyway, that's my story about both my friend, who I insist he marries an Indian girl, and also the one of the Bollywood films that we saw that was a super shock to us as far as its ending.
But we're glad to see that India is embracing BTS and
you know what?
Their video.
BTS, let this be a lesson. What's the word? Virality? I'm just gonna make that up. Virality of this?
Virulence.
Virulence? Oh no, virulence is the correct word. Correct. The virulence of this clip. It just shows you how many people in India are interested, right? Imagine if they did a straight up Indian style, Bollywood style dance, which come on, BTS, they could easily learn it in like a day or two.
Yeah.
Right? If they did a true, legit one, they should copy one from one of the more famous Bollywood films. You know what? Join me, because I'm learning those dances too. It's hard to describe while you're just talking.
Yeah.
But you know the typical Bollywood things.
No, but I remember when I saw...
I'll do them.
On the like dance shows, like So You Think You Can Dance, like Bollywood is always one of like the harder ones. Because it's like so intricate.
Right. Well, I have time to learn. That guy's not getting married anytime soon. They should do a real Bollywood collaboration.
Yeah.
Or some kind of just a dance mix or something. Why not?
Yeah, they could do a collab because they've worked with like Western artists. Why not like an Indian?
Why not work with Indian artists? Exactly.
That would be a good move for them.
That would be amazing.
That could be big. I'm going to email Big Hit and tell them that that's an idea. Especially if Big Hit is trying to be such an international company and try to have all these income streams. Like you're going to need to have different countries, not just the West, not just Korea. You know?
Right. This may be getting ahead of myself, but some of these K-pop groups, some of these other companies and whatever, they might look to start integrating more Indian members I know there's some quote unquote K-pop like Z girls, Z boys that they have Indian members integrated, but maybe more of them should start doing that.
Yeah, I mean, you could see with Blackpink how much mileage they get out of Lisa being Thai. It's like it could be like the same thing, just
right?
Like somebody having an Indian member.
I'm sure Lisa has a certain amount of cachet and popularity because she's not, Korean. She looks sort of like pan-ethnic. People know she's Thai. Physically, she kind of looks like maybe like Indonesians identify with her, Filipinos identify with her. She just kind of seems like she's in the good nexus of all of that stuff, right? What I'm trying to say is BTS should release a 100% Bollywood dance video tomorrow, not tomorrow, but as soon as possible.
India is like the next frontier for K-pop, I think. On July 7th, Metro News reported that 6 members of BTS are currently enrolled in Hanyang Cyber University. Now, up to this point, I think most people had thought only Jin was enrolled at the moment, and everybody else was kind of done with school and because they had gone to finish their degrees already. But it turns out that I guess all of them are enrolled right now. And so following that report, Big Hit put out a statement that said RM, Suga, and J-Hope enrolled in Hanyang Cyber University's graduate school for an MBA in advertising and media in March last year and are currently attending school. Jimin and V will enter for an MBA in advertising and media in September. And then Jin, I guess, is still attending the same university, and Jungkook is attending Global Cyber University with a major in broadcasting and entertainment. So Jungkook is not in the graduate time yet. He's still doing regular college. So that's kind of crazy to me that they have the time to do all this, but I know they have time right now because of coronavirus.
You're
but
right.
It's just like having time to do an entire degree and do that full time. It takes a lot of your time and a lot of your day.
So what is the controversy?
Well, okay, so we didn't know that they were all enrolled in school at this point because you'd think, well, they're busy. They're K-pop stars. They don't have time for all that. Maybe they're doing like one class on the side. You know how people sometimes do that. But some people are trying to say that, well, they're doing this because it's going to help them delay their enlistment. So that's became kind of a criticism of them. But I don't know if that is even the case, if that helps them delay it or not. I don't know how their system works exactly, if it takes into account if you're enrolled in school at the moment or if you just get called in, whenever you get called in. But it does seem like there's multiple benefits to enrolling into an online school right now. Maybe they just don't have a lot to do, so they're bored. They want to have something to do, and
right.
Maybe their label thinks, well, this is a good idea, keep them busy and keep them out of trouble. These are still like young guys in their 20s, and if they have a bunch of free time, maybe they'd be out at bars or they'd be getting themselves into like bad situations and scandals and stuff. So, I mean, and maybe a side benefit is that it has an effect on, okay, they won't be called up for enlistment just yet.
I don't think they're trying to avoid anything because they're all in this program, right?
Yeah.
But only a couple of them are due to be enlisting soon.
Right.
So for everybody else, it's clearly not for that benefit. I think they just want something to do while there's nothing to do.
It does seem like Big Hit is the kind of company that wants their people to be productive while they're not out there performing. Like if you're not doing idle stuff, then they
I have
want
to
you
imagine there's still stuff to do. You can still learn music. You can still write music. You can still practice, right?
Yeah. We know they have schedules still,
Yeah.
so they have their musical stuff to do.
Right. So I'm not sure about all that. And from what I read, how much can you delay it? Maybe 6 months. It's just, right. It's just not. It's not a loophole that anyone can abuse or anything. So I think that's unfair to criticize them for that. Maybe Jin can go 6 months later than he would have had to. In the grander scheme of things, though, is that really that big of a deal? No, it's not. And if they're all taking it now, it doesn't help all of them. It only helps Jin, right? Because he has to enlist soon. for the people who don't have to enlist soon, it doesn't help them at all, right?
Right. Like some of them are just starting this year.
So, no, I think it's really off base to say that they're abusing a loophole of some sort. In fact, if I were running BTS, if I were Big Hit, honestly, I would have told them at the beginning of Corona, I would have told them all to enlist. Everybody should enlist. It's only 18 months, right? So let's say all the Corona suspends activities for 6 months. It's only 1 year that they all have to be inactive, functionally, correct? That's probably what they should have done. I don't want to second guess them, but that's probably what they should have done. And if Corona makes people inactive, like de facto inactive for longer than that, then their quote unquote downtime was nothing.
It was used up by being
it was
in
used
the military.
Up. Yeah, it was just used up by the military time that was coinciding with the Corona inactive time, because they couldn't do anything anyway, right?
Right.
So I really think they should have made them all enlist at the beginning of Corona. Now that would have taken some foresight. Am I confident that can go back in time and say, yeah, I suggest this path of action? Yeah, I actually am, because I never thought that this whole Corona thing would just be over in a couple months. There'll probably just be lingering things going on for at least 6 months, right? So if it's going to go on for 6 months, then hey, everybody enlist.
Well, I didn't think it would last that long, and probably they didn't do it immediately because they probably had all these financial reasons to
maybe
not send people right away.
Even now, I think it would be a good idea, because we still don't know how long they will be sort of sidelined, right? And this time is not useful anyway, so you may as well be serving your enlistment. I think they should all be doing it. That's my personal opinion. Even now, they should just go. They should all enlist right now and serve it out. Start your 18-month timer right now. I bet you 4 months of it will be taken up by Corona anyway, right? You couldn't have done anything anyway. And then, so basically, you're all just sidelined for another 14 months. And then after that, you're free. You're fine. Everybody is fine to just work. They're not trying to skirt their way around the rules or anything like that. They just want to do something during their time.
Big Hit even made a statement. They said their enrollment in graduate school has nothing to do with their military service. And it
wouldn't, because only a certain number of them are due to enlist soon. So every single other person who does graduate school, it has nothing to do with it. Doesn't help them, right?
Right. Like if you're going to delay it, then it doesn't help you.
You would wait until, you're...
It's like
whatever.
You're going to enroll later, like when you're 27 or something.
Right. So, no, I totally don't. This is a non-story. Don't buy it.
Don't believe the hype.
No.
Next, cultural appropriation in K-pop part 100.
More? Okay.
Yeah.
Say
Once again, they've come for Lisa. I don't know why it's always Lisa. She's getting criticized. Lisa from Blackpink.
Is it always her? It's always somebody.
Yeah. Most of the time, I feel like it's Lisa. She was in a new dance video from, I think it's her choreographer or videographer, somebody. And
her personal channel.
Yeah.
I saw it.
The Lily's film. It was a dance video to Chris Brown and Young Thug's City Girls. She had a really good dance. That part of it went really well, but of course somebody else always has to comment about
there are always a couple
her
people.
Cultural appropriation. Yeah. They thought that what the handkerchief or scarf that she was wearing, that maybe it was a do-rag, which is something from Black culture, and they thought, wow, she shouldn't be wearing that. So it's like, oh, really? Like that's what you focus on? Like I don't know why people always want to criticize Lisa.
Well, I mean, my opinion about cultural appropriation in general and all that, but this specifically, I'm going to devote very little time to this. It's dumb. I can prove to you how it's dumb. People wearing scarves on their head, it's very old, guys.
It's very common.
It's very old.
It's in every...
Look at pictures from World War II and Rosie the Riveter. She wore a scarf on her head, guys.
Yeah, and maybe
she wore a scarf on her head.
It's like you call it a different thing.
Was rap culture in the 90s stealing from her? Were they appropriating her?
It's like nobody was stealing from anybody. It's like a lot of cultures, a lot of time periods had something that you wrap around your hair.
Yeah, because you know what? Hair is messy. And what's the easiest way to deal with messy hair?
Tie a cloth around it.
Rosie the Riveter wasn't the first either, even though, that's the first, like, it's one of the earlier examples that I could think of. But that doesn't mean I'm going to tell people in the 90s, in like 90s hip hop, to say, "Oh yeah, you're stealing from Rosie the Riveter." You're not. No, you're just tying cloth around your head.
You did it in a different time period.
Yeah.
And different fabric or whatever.
Right.
It's not stealing. It's not anything.
It's not stealing. It's not anything. And you might say, well, she didn't know about Rosie the Riveter. It's like, first of all, thank you for insulting Lisa. Maybe she is very well aware of Rosie the Riveter. Maybe she's very well educated about World War II history. You don't know, right? But let's say that she's not. Let's just say that she's not. And she is trying to mimic, let's say, 90s Black culture, and they wore, scarves around their head or whatever. But it wasn't original when they did it. Why is it appropriation when she does it and not appropriation when they did it? Mm-hmm. Ask yourself that. It just feels demeaning to even have to explain this, right? I mean, when people sweat, they want to put cloth around their head. They're not stealing from anybody's culture.
Yeah, or they just want to have their hair,
right,
in one place, controlled.
And you might say, well, she was inspired from a very specific type of culture. But that type of culture, they took it from somewhere else. So does she owe you? Or does she owe the previous, wherever you were inspired from? Now, I understand the argument that says, well, she's inspired from hip-hop, right? And yeah, she probably was. But hip-hop itself, can you acknowledge that maybe they were inspired from something else? I mean, we're talking about 90s hip-hop, correct? They didn't come fully formed without any influence from previous anything, correct?
Yeah.
So they saw other people wearing stuff on their head. They saw other whatever. They even sampled music from previous eras.
Yeah, just that. Sampling. They were using stuff from the 70s.
Well, yeah. So the point is, they're not clean either from this. Well, we were influenced by other previous stuff. They were? Can she not have that same right to be influenced from previous stuff?
I did find her look to be kind of like an Aaliyah throwback. She had like the kind of sports bra and like the hair and then the baggy pants. So I think that's what she was trying to recreate.
Yes. Aaliyah. She died like 20 years ago in a plane crash. And, R. Kelly married her when she was a teenager.
But it was very interesting that Lisa's videographer, like, right away stood up for her and was like, no, Lisa's just wearing a handkerchief or a scarf. It was not a do-rag. And
Yeah, but even the way he stood up for her, I don't like. Because his implication was, well, if it was a do-rag, I would have said something. I was like, well, who are you to be the arbiter of, like, what is a do-rag? What? But, well, his implication was, if it was a do-rag.
Yeah, then that would have been bad.
And I would have said something like, well.
But to me, it's like they're all kind of similar things. So It's like, what's the difference? But my point is, I don't think she should have had to have somebody stand up for her right away to diffuse the whole situation. It should be people just like, okay, common sense. Like, she can have whatever look she wants in this video, and it's not cultural appropriation because that isn't a real thing.
It certainly is not a real thing when we're just talking about a person tying a scarf over their head.
You have to just kind of like broaden your view if you don't think more than one culture did that.
Yeah, this is. I mean, there are certain things that I can get behind. Oh, this is this particular culture's thing, right? It's so specific that this is this culture's thing. Yeah, tying a scarf around your head is not one of those things. So just wear it if you want to wear it. Why do we have to parse this? I don't know.
That's what I don't like is that conversation, since that comes up again, then it overshadows the work that they did. Like Lisa in this video, like no one's even talking about, we're not even talking about
her great dancing or anything like that.
Yeah.
We're just talking about you're wearing was it a do-rag? Who cares?
Yeah, it's like, was it or wasn't it?
Was it just a scarf? Is it okay if it's a scarf? Why are we, is this what you want to talk about?
We're just focusing on people are focusing on all the wrong things. We'll mention it because we'll talk about it because sick of cultural appropriation.
It always comes up. I don't think she's guilty of it. No. So
leave Lisa alone. On July 7th, there were some tweets by a man named K.W. Miller, who is running for Congress in Florida. This is Florida District 18, which is on the eastern side of Florida, so it's above Miami and above Fort Lauderdale, and some of it borders Palm Beach. So that's where that's located.
Okay.
This was following President Trump's Tulsa rally and how the TikTok people supposedly interfered with that, even though they really didn't do anything. But they, used their fan cams, or they registered for seats and then didn't go.
Right.
So this KW Miller, who's running for Congress, he was talking about how AOC, which is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, worked with K-pop agents via TikTok to sabotage the president's rally. And then he said, K-pop is foreign propaganda. And he said, why is AOC conspiring with Koreans, such as Jungkook and BTS, to undermine the president?
Amazing. I know he spelled Jungkook wrong, but...
Yeah. And then he said BTS stands for Big Time Socialists.
Well, first I have to credit his intern for pulling out a name out of BTS. That was impressive. That's good.
Yes.
It's good research. They didn't quite spell it right, but it's still pretty good, right? Obviously, this person just either A, crazy and off base, or just trying to rile up people against, perceived threats like communists from... Anyway, obviously BTS has nothing to do with communists, right? I mean, South Korea and North Korea are two different countries. We're all aware of that. He's just trying to rile people up.
Yeah. I think he just threw in a bunch of references out there.
He just threw in a bunch of references to sort of like speak to sort of a base of voters, right?
Yes.
Obviously, he's very off base. He's just trying to play on... I don't want to say... Yeah, I guess I'll say it. Like some xenophobic fears about what other foreign influences are doing.
And that's definitely...
But those of us in the know that obviously, BTS they're not socialists and they have nothing to do with...
They obviously have nothing to do with that. And there is definitely a threat of foreign influence because we're looking at China and TikTok and all these different things. I'm not
going to say foreign influence is not a thing.
Yeah. He's just kind of off base with what he thinks it is.
Yeah, but... his idea that he can just ball up TikTok and BTS and South Korea and everything into one big... it's off base and it's word salad.
I think
that's all I'm going to say about this guy.
He's running as an independent, and he kind of doesn't have a chance because there's Republicans and Democrats that are both running anyway, and I
don't even care about this guy.
He's an independent. He doesn't know what he's talking about, but my problem with this is that this is what happens when you're a K-pop stan and you get involved in politics. Then all these people are going to be chiming in, and this is what I said was going to happen. Is annoying outside people are going to say, "Oh, you know what? K-pop stans are bad. BTS fans are bad."
People might associate K-pop with whatever prank. I could see that. But at the same time, there's some K-pop fans who welcome that. They want to be associated with that. So that is their right. This guy, obviously, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's totally ignorant on the facts.
Yeah.
There's not much more to say about a person like that. He doesn't know the difference between North and South Korea, or he just doesn't want to portray that he knows.
And he's lumping in China with K-pop.
So China, North Korea, South Korea, all sort of the same thing. There's a kernel of truth in some of this. TikTok is made by China, so there is some truth in being wary of TikTok, but it has nothing to do with BTS. That's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But it's a good talking point for certain voting demographics. They'll react well to it. Obviously, BTS is not socialist, right? We can tell that right away because everything they have done has been to make money.
Everything they do is capitalist.
Right. That alone will tell you that they're not socialists.
They're big time capitalists, if anything.
Right. And the difference between South Korea, North Korea, and China are immense.
But yeah, I saw this article. I was like, okay, that's mildly amusing. But I knew this would happen because K-pop stans are doing all these things to get involved in politics. And that's exactly why they shouldn't. Is because you're dragging BTS in all these different conversations that they don't need to be a part of. But, everybody on Twitter was just like, okay, this guy, KW Miller, you know what you're talking about, so just stop talking about K-pop and
he doesn't
BTS.
know what he's talking about.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he's just trying to get attention so his campaign will take off
Right.
or whatever, but he
I mean,
basically has no chance anyway.
People, I still won't say that they can't do what they want to do and say what they want to say politically. They can, but you're right. It sort of invites, it just invites this sort of thing.
And then like this guy saying like ignorant things about BTS, then that's gonna cause all the BTS army to get mad and then cause all this other like conversation about it. And like, okay, none of that has anything to do with their music and streaming BTS's music and anything positive. So it just like kind of spirals into all this other unnecessary stuff. So that's my only point. So this past weekend, BTS set another record with Black Swan, and it reached #1 on iTunes in more countries than any other song. It reached #1 in 103 countries, which is, I guess, the most that it's ever been for any song. And the record was previously held by Adele's song Hello, which had the record for 5 years, with 102 countries being at #1. And so, well, that's great. I'm happy about whatever records BTS breaks, but to me, it's like, okay, it's not that important. It's like, I'm not going to like BTS more or less because of records that they broke. So, I mean, that's fine. Black Swan's a great song. But I did find it interesting because I've heard some blind items about Adele. And so it just made me think, well, that's kind of a shame that like anytime BTS breaks a record that Adele had, then it's kind of like, okay, she's never going to be able to get that back because she might not even sing again because her last album was 2015 and she hasn't done anything since then, and it's 2020 now. And what I've been reading in some blind items, like maybe her voice is gone and she can't sing anymore because
Oh, really? Why?
Well, I know she at one point had surgery on her throat or on her vocal cords, and I think that was maybe before her last album. So I don't know if something happened since then that it's like, okay, maybe it's something came back or grew back or, you know, something that needed to be treated. But clearly she hasn't been singing since then, so it kind of makes you question, like...
So she had surgery and she can't sing anymore, maybe.
Yeah, that's kind of the speculation, and it's like I got this from blind items, so obviously this is all just hearsay and gossip, so it might not be true at all, and maybe she'll have another album like next month. But it does seem like, well, she hasn't sang in a while, she hasn't performed, she hasn't even done like, you know, a random single here and there, so it does seem like, well, maybe there's an issue, and maybe she's like still trying to recover from that. And we know that Adele had her weight loss, so it's like these other things that are like kind of distracting everybody, and they're not really thinking about, oh, when's her next album, like why doesn't she have an album out yet? So she had said earlier this year that September 2020 is when her next album would come out, but then I saw like another article that was like, oh, you know what, it's not going to be September, it's going to be later than that because coronavirus has delayed it further away. And it's like, okay, that just kind of sounds like an excuse to me. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't be able to, like, if you have a voice that works right now, you should be able to record something like that doesn't take a ton of people. Like, you could be in your studio and working on stuff. That it shouldn't be hampered by coronavirus. So anyway, that's just something I kind of thought about. Like, okay, BTS is breaking Adele's records, and it's like, that's great, and I'm happy for them. This is kind of like putting the nail in the coffin of like Adele's career, though. She's kind of like, these records are being erased. Although
it's okay, I don't care.
She still has all her Grammys and all of her, like, you know, wins.
Nothing lasts forever.
That's true.
I don't feel bad for her.
She had her moment, and
she had her moment.
Okay.
She has plenty of money.
Yes, she's very rich.
Although she had to give a bunch of away in her divorce, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, she's successful and fine, in my opinion. So I don't feel too bad for her.
She's gonna be okay.
Yeah, she's gonna be okay.
But I was thinking about that when I heard, oh, they broke Adele's records. Like, she's being sent into the dustbin of history now.
Well, at some point, we're all sent into the dustbin of history.
That's true. We're all gonna go there.
Yeah, and some of us were not even lucky enough to be significant to begin with. So I don't feel that bad for Adele. At least she was significant at some point.
That's true. She had a huge moment.
Right? Not all of us, the vast majority of us, do not have that.
Almost none of us.
Yes. So what I'm trying to say is it's gonna be a hard time to get me to pity Adele. She was immensely
Right.
successful, and
She can
she had a
still
moment.
live out the rest of her life as a
Yeah,
millionaire and
so
celebrated by
not-
everybody and
not-
respected.
Not sad for her or anything.
That's true.
Whatever.
If someone was gonna break my record though, I would want it to be BTS. Like
Oh,
somebody
of course
who's
you would.
somebody who's huge though. It's like you don't want it to be some like one hit wonder or something. Like
Well, anyone that breaks records, though, it's gonna by definition be huge, though, right?
yeah, it'd be like, oh, Elvis broke my record. It's like, oh, okay, well that's Elvis.
Yeah, but
so-
anybody who breaks a record is gonna probably be huge by definition. So you're safe there, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
I don't even like her music. I'm sorry. I'm trying to summon up some kind of empathy here, but I'm really not capable of it.
I just have a different feeling when it's like, you know how Blackpink had their How You Like That video, and then it was like, oh, that broke the record for like YouTube views in 24
Yeah.
hours, and then
Sure.
they broke BTS's record. But then before that, Blackpink had the record. So it's like, okay, that was just, I kind of felt differently about that because it was like, okay, well, they're just trading off. They're just kind of like equal. So I don't feel bad for like either one when it gets broken because it's like, well, one or the other is going to get
You
that.
feel bad for Adele?
If that was really important to her, there's no way to get that back.
I bet it's not that important to her. That you can take
Her money
solace
is
in that.
important to her.
Yeah, you can take solace in the fact.
Okay.
She's probably not that important to her. She probably doesn't even care about YouTube. I want to guess. You know, she'll just work back and get her singing voice back, which she'll probably get back at some point, right?
Eventually, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
And she'll again be a great singer, as she
Modern
was,
medicine.
right? She was a great singer, and she will be again.
But if she doesn't have an album in 2020, I'm going to think, oh my God, this theory is totally right. Like that she's can't sing anymore. Like her voice is too damaged. So just keep an eye out for that.
Probably correct. Just see if she has an album out in 2020.
Yeah.
For anybody who still knows or cares about Adele.
Just pay attention to that.
Right. I mean, at this point, she's kind of old news.
Yeah, I mean, 2015 was her last album, so
Yeah.
that's a while ago.
Yeah. So I don't know. And in K-pop terms, that is forever ago.
That's a lifetime ago.
Yeah. I mean, 2015, there was still such a group as 21, right?
That was the previous generation
Yeah,
of
that was
K-pop.
the second generation K-pop.
Thank you to our guest, Morgan. You can find BTS Happy Hour on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean, Castbox, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. New episodes weekly. Please comment, leave a review, or rate wherever you are listening to the podcast. Follow BTS Happy Hour on Twitter and Facebook. Until next time, this has been the BTS Happy Hour. Thanks for listening, and remember, make every hour a happy one.